Okay, hello everyone and welcome to this May morning meetup, good morning, of the Arts and Culture Accessibility Cooperative, transitioning back into live arts. My name is Megan Harms and I'm the Arts and Culture Coordinator with MindsEye and I will be the facilitator today. I am a white woman with long gray hair in my early 40s. As you just heard, this webinar will be recorded. The recording will be emailed to all registrants in a few days. Along with the recording, you'll also receive a list of resources and a survey. The video will also be available on MindsEye's YouTube channel. Today, we'll be using the Q&A box as well as the raise your hand function. Please feel free to go ahead and drop your questions into the Q&A box throughout the presentation. We're always looking for the first question, so go ahead and drop it in there when you get the chance. During the Q&A time, you may also raise your hand if you would like to speak, and we'll give you permission to turn on your microphones. Some shortcuts for raise your hand: on a Windows device, that's Alt-Y, and on a Mac, that's Option-Y. So Alt-Y for a Mac and Option-Y Alt-Y for Windows and Option-Y for Mac to raise your hand. You won't have the option to turn on your camera, but you will have the option to turn on your microphone or drop them in the Q&A box. Closed captions are available during this presentation via Communication Access Real-Time Translation. Just select the CC button on your bottom toolbar. We also have an American Sign Language interpreter with us. They are spotlighted to ensure they remain on screen throughout the webinar for the recording. For best viewing, we recommend hiding non-video participants by clicking the three dots at the top right corner of any participant box. You can also find that same option, hide non-video participants, on your toolbar next to the camera in the settings. If you would like the ASL interpreter's box to be larger, remain in speaker view. You may also want to pin the interpreter box to make sure that they stay on screen. Our interpreter is Hannah, and hopefully we'll have a second interpreter named Charlene, who I'm looking for. Charlene, if you're here, please raise your hand so I can make you the other interpreter and spotlight you. If you want to see the speaker as well as the interpreter, please turn on gallery view. Live audio description is also available. You want to click the interpretation button near the closed caption button on the bottom of your screen. It's a globe with latitude and longitude lines, and then choose audio description. So there'll be a list of languages. You want to make sure you choose audio description. If you are on a phone or a device with a small screen, you may need to find the more option, the three dots. You must join the meeting. This is important for audio description listeners. You must join the meeting audio through your computer audio for AD. You cannot listen to language interpretation if you use the dial in or call me phone audio features. That's something we learned recently. So you might have to drop out and come back in. So make sure you're using the computer audio for that. You may have already noticed that chat to everyone has been disabled due to its interference with screen readers. You may still chat directly with panelists or me as the host. We're trying something new this month, so I'm going to try to keep on top of this. If you do choose to use the chat, and you can chat directly to me, please add a letter R for read out loud. So if you choose to put your question or your comment in the chat, use the letter R to read out loud, or S for silent. This is just for you. Please be silent and don't say it. So that's just for the chat, or you can drop your questions in the Q&A box or raise your hand. And as I mentioned earlier, you'll receive a survey after this webinar, both through Zoom, the automatic Zoom survey that pops up, and then I will also send it out to you. Your feedback is really helpful for us and for our funders, so please take a few minutes to do that. And if you haven't already become a member of our Facebook group, you can find us at facebook.com/groups/ACACSTL. And before we begin, we would like to acknowledge that MindsEye is located in Belleville, Illinois, the ancestral lands of many people, including the tribes commonly known as the Sioux, Quapaw, Miamia, Osage, Kaskaskia, and Kickapoo. We also acknowledge those tribes who pass near our area during their forced removal, including the Cherokee, Delaware, Sac and Fox, and Shawnee. The process of knowing and acknowledging the ground beneath our feet is a way of honoring and expressing gratitude for the people on this land before us. And on the screen, this is a map of the St. Louis area with several overlapping colors, each representing a different tribe that lived in this area, this land, this whole area really. You can find that interactive map at native-land.ca. And at the end of the meeting, we will be spinning a magical wheel that will have all your names on it of everyone that has remained here throughout. And thanks to the St. Louis Shakespeare Festival for donating our prize today. So I'm going to stop sharing so that I can introduce our moderator today, Sharon Hunter. Sharon Hunter is a professional actor, singer, and member of Actors Equity Association and SAG-AFTRA. Sharon is the founder and producing artistic director of Moonstone Theater Company, a new professional performing arts organization offering the St. Louis community a wide range of quality theatrical productions while supporting local arts and education. Sharon is the host, writer, and producer of the arts and entertainment podcast, Moonstone Connections. She is the founder and executive director of the St. Louis Theater Task Force. In addition, Sharon is an adjunct professor in the College of Arts and Sciences at Maryville University. Sharon, we're so glad to have you with us today. I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you so much. Yes, I'm Sharon Hunter. I'm a white woman. I'm wearing brown glasses. I have long blonde hair, and I'm wearing a burgundy blouse. So welcome, good morning, and welcome to this transition back into live arts webinar. Today, our guest speaker is Michael Donovan. He is the executive director of the Missouri Arts Council. He leads the state agency responsible for supporting the arts. His focus includes expanded presence statewide, proportional and equitable grant funding, and building partnerships and creative communities. He is responsible for developing a strategic and effective organization and creating training and professional development for nonprofit arts organizations. Prior to joining the State Arts Council, he was the editor of a publication on fundraising events for nonprofits, directed a cultural center in Louisiana, and worked for a United Arts Fund in Ohio. For over 35 years, Michael Donovan has been a professional in the arts, serving on many cultural and community boards, including the Mid-America Arts Alliance, as well as grant panels for the National Endowment for the Arts and several states and communities. As a writer and frequent speaker at conferences and workshops, his topics include program development, strategic planning, fundraising, and marketing. VSA Arts recognized his commitment to accessibility and artists with disabilities with their Award of Excellence. He was a participant also in the Missouri Chamber of Commerce leadership class. We welcome Michael Donovan. Good morning, Michael.
Thank you, Sharon. I'm a white male wearing glasses, have a beard and gray hair in my early 60s. I'm very excited to be talking with the ACAC in MindsEye. I've been aware of ACAC since my colleague Virginia Sanders has been involved with the organization, which I think has been over a year or two. And I'm very proud and appreciative of what you do to make the arts more accessible, not only as a coalition together, but also in your individual organization. That's very important to the Missouri Arts Council. And it seems particularly appropriate to be talking about Missouri ArtSafe certification today with a group that's interested with accessibility. We're aware that for many people with disabilities, the pandemic has had its special challenges, both in terms of the risk of COVID-19, as well as the challenges in getting vaccinated and being present in society. So I think it's important to have this conversation, and I appreciate your attendance here as well. But what I'm going to talk about today is about the Missouri ArtSafe certification, what its purpose is, what it does for organizations, and also how we're pivoting towards reopening support and resources as well. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm open to your questions, and there's a place for you to put them in on the site. and we'll take more live after this. But I think I'd like to start with getting a sense of where everybody is. And if you would put, Megan, if you would put up the poll for the first poll, which is basically a very simple yes or no question. Are you currently certified as Missouri ArtSafe? And while you're getting a chance to answer that question, I'll talk a little bit about how this started. And this started last summer. It was July. We had gotten together a group of about 20 arts organizations, both in St. Louis and Kansas City, and to think about how this pandemic was going to affect arts organizations in the leadership of the Cransbridge Arts Foundation, who had 7 or 8 venues themselves, had started early work in determining what was the best way to make artists safe, presenters safe, and audiences safe. And they developed some protocols that we have used as a model. And they'd also developed some training, which we were able to provide at no cost to the organizations. And so that was the purpose, was to give groups a chance to learn how to be art safe in their operations and in their presentations, as well as give them some sense of certification or credibility so that the public would know that they've made these particular efforts in order to be more art safe. Do we have the results of the poll yet? Okay, so we've got about 28%, I think, who are currently certified, which is great news. They join what is now over 140 organizations across the state that are currently Missouri ArtSafe certified, and a number, 72%, who may be interested in learning about how to do more of that. And I think one of the easiest ways for me to do that is try to share my screen with the link, with the website that all this information is put on. And it's at MissouriArtSafe.org. And I'm going to open that up right now. This is the site where we have most of the information, everything but the actual form to apply to be certified. But what it does is it's a two-facing site. It's facing both people who are interested in being art safe and those who are audiences who are interested in going to places that are certified. So at the top, it tells you what we are. We promote COVID-19 safe practices when the arts reopen with local guidelines. We've done this with the Missouri ArtSafe, and there's a link to those organizations at the bottom of this website. We've got the certification. We review the applications, and we'll go over that quickly. But basically, the reasons for becoming art safe are very simple. It gives you specific training for your frontline staff and volunteers, provides information on how to reopen safely, which we're continuing to increase those resources. It gives you specific guidance on creating a plan, and it promotes your efforts once you have done so. So this is the pledge currently. To ensure that we may create safely, present safely, and attend safely, we pledge to facial coverings, social distancing, health checks, contact tracing, contactless experience, reduced capacity, enhanced sanitation, and training in those practices. And I'm going to go over those in more detail and also tell you how those are changing as our circumstances have changed with increased vaccination. Below that is a link to get to how to register to be certified. We'll go to that later. And we've had a number of seminars since last August, introducing Missouri ArtSafe, talking about preparing your plan, talking about de-escalation and public gatherings at the beginning. And this is one of the things that we've changed, that has changed, is we were concerned because we had read about a lot of pushback and a lot of hostility towards any protocols in a number of places that we saw online. That has not been the case for most of the arts organizations, and what has happened has been fairly modest and mild. But that was a concern, and so we talked about that. We talked about public relations and how to communicate how you do these, how the efforts you've made, how you communicate to the public and to your audiences. And all of these are accessible. They have a transcript or captioning, I think, on all of them. Staff health and wellness was an issue. Vaccinations and employment law we covered in another employment. So there's a deep dive into a number of these issues as we continue to educate the people who have been ArtSafe certified, and even organizations who have not and taken some of these protocols, just have not gotten certified. There's a number of questions, FAQs, that we've answered, and you can go here and find the answers. And if you don't find the answers here, don't hesitate to call me at the Missouri Arts Council. And right now we have over 140 organizations of all kinds, all over the state, both for-profit and nonprofit, all different types of arts and all different sizes of organizations and budgets. And there's a link you'll see to each one of them. And the link on the name side links to their website, and the link on this side is specific for their COVID plan. So one of the resources that we have available is examples for just about any type of organization you can imagine of how they wrote a certified COVID plan. And you'll see a vast variety of them. Some of them are very short as one page. Some of them taking a number of pages, depending on the complexity of the art and the complexity of the organization and the venue that you have. So I'm going to go through all of those just to show you the groups that are involved with the Missouri Art Safety Alliance at the bottom. And then go back to the top and show you how to get to. This takes you to a Jot Form, which is simply an online form that allows you to submit online. And it goes through the 4 steps. The 4 steps are pretty straightforward. The first step is to watch the video. There's no cost to watching it, but we do ask, in linking to the video, that you simply give us the name of your organization, what your role in the organization is, so we know which organizations we're reaching. And as soon as you click on that, after you've given us that information, it brings you to the video. And who do we ask to see that is anybody who would be face-to-face with an audience person, with the public. It could be definitely your staff leadership and your volunteer leadership, but also any frontline person that would be face-to-face with them in a gallery, in an audience, at a box office, ticket sales, any place where they might be expected to work with them. It's only 9 minutes long. It just goes through an overview of all the protocols. It's very quick and very entertaining to watch. You'll see some of the places that you're familiar with in St. Louis, if you're in the St. Louis area. And then we ask you to take those measures, which are the 8 protocols that I mentioned in the pledge, and apply them to your organization. And the best way the groups have told us to do this is to basically review all of your processes, all of your places where people go through your venue, buying a ticket, going to the restroom, getting concessions, everything that they would involve with into the theater if you have a theater, or the gallery if you have a gallery, and consider where are the risks? What is the chance of them getting COVID-19? Is it by touching something, touching a door handle, or buying tickets, using money, picking up a printed program? Consider all the ways that we know now, and we know a lot more now than we did several months ago when we started this, as to what the real risks are, and develop a plan. And again, this is where going back and looking at how the plans are written can be very helpful. Don't make it any more complicated than it has to be. Some groups will start with the protocols themselves and then address each of those protocols. So they make sure that they address all of the protocols that we're currently using. And we've changed some of that. And then look at some of the resources that are online and then register. And once you've registered, you're basically attesting to that you're doing these protocols and who you are, and that if you make any changes, you let us know about it, and that you will use the logo on your website to link to the ArtSafe page. And that's a critical piece of this, is having everybody promoting this. You're promoting all the groups that have gotten certified and letting the public know about how to find groups like that. And then you have your board approve that to make sure that they're on board, and you submit it. And that submission will go to us. We review this usually within a week or two and let you know with a letter that you are approved and that you can use the logos. And we have 3 kinds of logos that you can use, and you'll see them on an increasing number of organizations that are Missouri ArtSafe certified. And it's the Mona Lisa picture that has the ArtSafe slogan on it. And there's a black and white version for print, and there's a banner version, and then there's the square one above this designation. Create safely, present safely, attend safely. That hasn't changed. What has changed is the circumstances that we're living with is very different than it was a year ago, and in most cases better. We have multiple vaccinations that are helping people feel safer going out in public. We have guidelines from the CDC based on sciences that have changed, that we have modified our protocols under. And we have gotten some feedback from the organizations in terms of what they're benefiting from. So what they've done, we took a survey about a month and a half ago of the groups who have had at that time, it was only 115 groups, what their experience was in doing Missouri ArtSafe. And what they told us is, among the things they told us was we asked them how has Missouri ArtSafe certification helped? And what we heard is from the top 4 responses were from 76% of the organizations that empowered their organization to safeguard participants to create, present, and attend safely. From 80% said that it established a statewide standard for arts organizations to support safe reopening. From 76% of the organizations that said it demonstrated to funders and local health authorities that they're taking measures to meet established standards. We've seen that here in St. Louis, where the city health department looks for our standard as a way or a means to approve groups that are doing public events. And there are some venues around the state that look for Missouri ArtSafe in order to use their venue. And finally, to 80% of the organizations, it demonstrated to artists, staff, board members, donors, and the public to attract greater confidence. And I think that's where we are right now, as more and more groups reopen. And I'd like to ask if you would put up the poll for the reopening and let us know if you are currently open, plan to reopen, not open. Fully, partially, or not open. So right now, the state has about 33% of the public fully vaccinated, and a much higher amount than that who have partially vaccinated with a high standard of resistance to COVID-19. We know that the vaccinations are generally effective against the variants, which is important news. And we know that it shows that we have not just gotten protection against ourselves getting sick or hospitalized from COVID-19, but we're also not shedding the virus to others. So based on that understanding and that science, CDC recently changed the protocols for people who are vaccinated and those who are not vaccinated. And generally speaking, so as a result, we're changing one of our critical protocols. The 2 most critical protocols were masking and social distancing. And so to align with the changes in the CDC recommendations, we are modifying the pledge and expectations so that masking for those who are not vaccinated is recommended. And for those who are vaccinated, for indoor events when social distancing isn't possible. The health symptom checks that people were doing were recommended, but those who have not been found as critical in protecting especially since asymptomatic people were a large part of spreading the disease. So while we recommend that continue to look at the symptoms and post the symptoms and ask people not to enter if they have certain symptoms related to COVID-19. The temperature checks themselves are not required. And also contact tracing isn't being universally supported. So there are certain areas where the contact tracing isn't followed through. And if you're in that area, then there's no need to do the contact tracing. Although for most organizations, since they are now doing online ticketing, that has built-in contact tracing that gives you that information anyway. And there's another way to help people minimize their contact touching things in your facility. So those are the changes that we are looking at. And this is the first place that we've announced this. You don't see this yet on our website, and we're going to be sending that information down shortly, but this is where we're announcing it. And what we see is about 15% are fully reopened, 68% are partially open, and 18% have presumed not yet open. So that's excellent news. And I think that that's something that gives hope to all of us in terms of what we do to get ready for to reopen. And that's really where we're kind of pivoting to. Let me make sure that I've got is two things we're looking at. Vaccinations is the key to this. It's the key to our overall safety in this. And we are wanting to get the arts organizations to encourage your audiences, your staff, and yourselves to be as fully vaccinated as is feasible. We know that there's some people that cannot be vaccinated. And for those people, it's especially important that the rest of us be vaccinated. And the more people that are vaccinated, the safer our audiences will be, and we will be safer in reopening. So we're going to try to develop some messaging, but in the meantime, your efforts in getting people vaccinated that you have access to and who are interested in coming to your facilities is something that will help all of us and help the recovery overall. We're also going to be developing more resources specifically about reopening. We want to make sure that there's going to be a section on the website that isn't there yet that helps lead you to not only getting ready to have a COVID plan, which is already there, but also take that next step, because the COVID plan is kind of the linchpin of reopening, but it's not the only step. Communications is part of this, and preparing your staff and audience is part of this. And we're going to have a checklist and things that you can specifically do. But the communications is the things that should be happening now. It should be touching base with your organizations, everybody that you have access to you on your website, your audiences, and the general public, and letting them know and communicating with them and finding out, are they ready to come back to your facility? And if not, what do they need to be ready to come back to your facility? And increasingly what we're hearing is that even now, and even number of groups that are already open or close to opening, is the audience is split. We have a wide divide here between those who are ready to come back and those who are saying, why aren't you open already? And that makes it very difficult for organizations to make decisions that feel safe to them and safe to their audiences. Masking and social distancing is still a critical factor for groups who are looking to come back and come back safely. If you're looking for a place to come to that has a group of people seating closely together, like in an audience, that's a concern for a lot of people. Not everybody, but for a lot of people. So, but it's changing, you know, as people get more comfortable and as people get more vaccinated. So that's why the vaccination part is critical. And that's why having the protocols are critical. Let's go through the protocols and see where we are on that. Let me go back to the, so here are the protocols that we currently have. Facial coverings are going to change as I just described, with recommendations to be in alignment or stricter if you wish. Don't feel like you have to get less strict than you are ready to do so. Your own interest should be the case there, but don't get less strict than the community and your audience and the CDC recommends. That would not be safe either. So the masking the social distancing. There's some talk about changes where the social distancing may come closer, maybe 3 feet instead of 6 feet. But again, we're waiting until those recommendations come from the CDC. We are not being moved by the local authorities quite yet, because frankly, some of them never did have any protocols in place. And so opening when you were never really closed doesn't have a whole lot of meaning. We're looking for those recommendations where science is driving it, not social or economic pressure. So the facial covering, social distance is still critical. The health checks change, as I had already suggested. Contact tracing may or may not be viable within your area. The contactless experience, this was the thing that was heavily emphasized at the beginning. And you saw groups doing very frequent sanitation protocols, fogging, things like that. I think a lot of that has dialed back. We're still being cognizant of the need to keep things clean, and keep people off of touching things that they don't need to touch, whether it's a door that you could keep open or have somebody to open the door for people, or moving to an online-based system where you have tickets sold, you don't exchange the tickets, you don't take money, you just do that online. Maybe your programs are online, or you use a code, QR code to get people to scan it with their phone and get the programs on their phone and not pass out paper. There's lots of ways to reduce the contact in our experience. And we've learned that now since we've been doing this and going places for the last several months. Having the plexiglass screens in place where that's helpful, with often a queue of people, or people come to the same person over and over again at a point of sale, for example. And also reduce capacity. You know, sometimes the communities are setting capacity. They had started at 25%, went up to 50%. Even at full capacity with social distancing, if that's still in place, that is going to lower your total numbers that you have available to bring people in, or even the time that you can bring people in. If you have a facility like a gallery, you might have a timed tickets where people come in for certain times, or a certain number of people limits in the gallery that people can attend. And then finally, the training is available within the application process, and you'll have access to that as soon as you register with that. Once you've had that, we ask that you not share that video with others who have not registered. Send them back to the same link so that we can capture their interest as well. Sharon, do we have any questions at this time?
Yes, we do actually. I was just about to tell you.
Okay, I'm going to close my screen and get out of that. Okay.
The first question we have is, are the Missouri ArtSafe webinar recordings captioned?
Yes, I believe they were all captioned. And I think there may be a transcript separately for some of them.
Great. What level of ArtSafe plans do organizations need that are not presenting in their own venue when they return to live performances? And in parentheses, they said, especially if the venue they are using is already ArtSafe certified.
So many of the venues are ArtSafe certified, and they have certain responsibilities, and the organization has certain responsibilities. So we've asked both to get certified because the responsibilities vary depending on your contract with the space. So you would be ArtSafe certified if they're taking care of some of that responsibility and you're taking care of the rest. And I think that helps to use an ArtSafe certified venue. But both should be certified, and both should be conscious of what the protocol should be in place, so that they're not being taken care of. You know that you need to take care of that for your staff, your artists, and your audience.
Great. Are temperature checks still recommended?
Temperature checks seem to be less imperative than checking symptoms, although some people are asymptomatic. So that itself is not a protection, which is why we have multiple protocols in place. This has always been kind of what we call a layered Swiss cheese effect, in which Each protocol by itself is not perfect, but when you layer them all together, you'll get overlapping coverage that helps you protect as many people as possible. And again, this is just increasing the security and the protection of people. It's not a guarantee that somebody won't get COVID-19 in your facility, or one of your staff or performers won't get it. But the odds are decreasing in terms of getting it if you're vaccinated greatly. And I think that right now, my priority would be vaccinating your staff and your artists and making sure that they are safe, and then addressing the certification protocols that make your audience and people coming safe.
That is a good question that I was going to ask you, is that I've heard that some people are worried about vaccines and knowing who is and who isn't, and how can you know, and how would you know, Michael, within your staff or your cast, what's the best way to explain to them that it's important for them to be vaccinated?
First of all, you don't know. People are allowed to voluntarily show their status if they're willing to do that. But in general, for the people that you know, your staff and your volunteers and your artists, you have a sense of their willingness to be vaccinated in the first place, which gives you a clue as to whether or not they're actually inclined to do it. And in the end, people's willingness to protect themselves and each other, that's your only layer of protection. You can't guarantee that, and unless they can show or are willing to show their status. Can you ask them? Yes, you can. Can you require it? No, you can't. Unless you are in an employment situation. And here, OSHA and EOC has said that you can, as an issue of workplace safety, require a vaccination. But the people that have been forced to get vaccinated are the least likely that are going to honor the other protocols. So I would be looking for people who are interested in being vaccinated, because they're the ones that will be most likely to do what needs to be done.
Michael, if we get the go-ahead for, say, a larger capacity audience, what would be some of the changes that would happen as far as masking? Would that still be a recommendation, or how would things change within the Missouri ArtSafe protocol?
Well, since we've chosen to align with the CDC guidelines, it would mean that you might allow, and you're not required to, but I'm saying that you could allow people to come in without a mask if they were vaccinated. Again, knowing that you don't necessarily know which of those people are truly vaccinated. In my own practice, I have gone in places, even though I'm fully vaccinated, and where there is a crowd that I cannot socially distance from, I will mask. And I think that's the other expectation, is that you're in a place where you cannot socially distance and you're vaccinated, you still would mask. So if you're in a place that people cannot be vaccinated from, then you would ask everybody to wear a mask. But again, that is up to your organization, and some local protocols are different. I think in Kansas City, for example, they're not required. I think they're required currently to mask, but that's going to expect to go away before the end of the summer. And for some groups, that might be too soon for your organization. And for other groups, they're going to go to the full limit that they're allowed to go through. What we're saying for ArtSafe certified is that we're going to expect groups to follow the protocol that we've set up at that minimum, which we think is still generous and aligned with the CDC. And as those things go away, we will take the protocol level down. At some point, I would assume we're all expecting this is going to go away to the extent we don't have to have as many protocols as we have now. And that means that maybe ArtSafe certified won't be as necessary to have in place. I'm hoping so. But until then, we're going to maintain standards so that there's a differentiation between those who choose not to follow these guidelines and those who do. And that's one of the values of being certified, is to show that you are maintaining a standard that puts the safety before your own economic gain.
We have another question, and I would repeat to all of our participants to please continue to put your questions in the Q&A, and I will continue to ask Michael. If a small arts organization does not have a website, can they still be part of the training?
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, you don't have to have a website. The problem with not having a website, obviously, is that we can't promote you, and you can't provide this information to the public. And I think now more than ever, people are going online to getting information before they go to places to find out what the protocols are. And so if you don't have a website, now's certainly a good time to think about it. The cost is low, the barrier is low to getting a website, and there's so many advantages, and I wouldn't say even for small organizations, I say especially for small organizations. There's no reason not to have a website.
For some who might say, why do I need to register with Missouri ArtSafe? What would you say is the important reason to do so?
Well, I would say that some may choose to do the protocols and not register, and that's absolutely fine. You can look at the resources, you can look at the training, you can use all of that. That's all available to everybody. The advantage of registering is that we can promote you, and you can be promoted by being associated with the certification. So that's kind of the icing on top of this, but having the certification, I mean, having the protocols is the important part. Getting the certification is our way of helping reward you for doing that and making it so that other people know that you've done that.
As far as people with disabilities who have fear of returning to live theater or a museum, anything with the arts, what would you say to make them feel safer in returning?
Well, I think, first of all, I want to acknowledge the fear. It's not just people with disabilities. You know, there are people who are really concerned, and it's not an unreasonable fear, you know, and not that the risk isn't getting easier, it is. But we've been through a pandemic that is virtually unprecedented. And so to not have some caution about that doesn't make sense to me. So I would first acknowledge the fears and say that you have to do what is comfortable for you. There's no reason to put yourself in a situation where you feel anxious about it. And I would just urge you to learn more about how things are changing, why things are changing, why the protocols were changed for the CDC. That seemed abrupt to a lot of people, but the fact is they had been studying that for months. And for many people, they were complaining that it hadn't changed sooner. But those things don't change until there's plenty of evidence to show that it is safe to do so. The place where I share some of this fear is the expectation that people who are unmasked are not all vaccinated. And so in my own practice, I wear a mask more than is indicated for people who are vaccinated. But to me, that's a small price to pay for adding to my protection while I'm still vaccinated.
Do you feel that there is a sense that everyone is going to start coming back to live theater and being more involved in arts organizations now that we are seeing the vaccine rollout so readily available?
It's already happening. And one of the first examples that I had heard of, this was a couple months ago at Sheldon, they had a small socially distanced event, and they acknowledged that their audience was an older audience, and could only surmise that was because that was the audience that was already getting vaccinated at that time. And so, yes, I think that you're going to see it, but you're going to see it at different rates. There are going to be people that are going to be the first ones out there. There are going to be people that are going to hold back and wait until they feel comfortable. And then there's some people that may not do it until next year. You know, so I don't think we're going to see full audiences very soon. maybe in the smaller theaters before the larger theaters. And I think that some people are going to pace themselves. They're going to start with smaller events. They're going to go to smaller theaters before they're going to go to larger theaters or to larger events, or maybe they'll do the outside theater. There's going to be a lot of outside theater this summer. And I think that's a good place to start. If you're not comfortable, start in places where you feel more comfortable. Outside is safer than inside. Distance is safer than not distance. And work your way into it. And I think what you'll find is as you go and see people and see people's protocols, you'll feel more comfortable trying other places. At least I hope so.
I think that was a good point that you brought up about, and I was going to ask you, do you feel like virtual theater will stay as a component to this? Because there has been, I think, some information here that from a disability standpoint, that has really become a really strong way for people that can't get out of their house to still enjoy the arts.
I think the accessibility of virtual events is going to continue. I think you're going to see a lot of theaters are going to be both live and virtual for the same productions. It benefits people with disabilities. It benefits people who are, for many reasons, people who are not local. You know, I've gotten to see some theater places that I would not have been able to see because it's not anywhere close to me. And so while I'm anxious to see live theater, I hope that the virtual theater continues, and I think it will.
I do too. Going back to just the Missouri ArtSafe Council, what have you seen, Michael, has been developing throughout the state of Missouri as far as coming back and really upping their safety protocol?
Well, what has been interesting from the beginning is obviously every place wasn't working the same way. You know, you see rural areas that were not getting huge numbers, and so they never really closed down. Culturally, areas that were not inclined to mask in parts of the state didn't have a mandate for masking. St. Louis and Kansas City were the most impacted by those mandates. But even there were differences between Kansas City and St. Louis and between St. Louis and St. Louis County. So I think what you're going to find is it's going to be more homogeneous now than it was in the earlier part of the pandemic. And I think you'll see more similarities and more consistency in what the expectations of, especially as we get further out of the pandemic, or the pandemic becomes less of an impact. We're not out of the pandemic at this point, obviously, and we don't expect to be maybe until first quarter of next year. But you're going to see a gradual lessening of risk and more people vaccinated and more places open. And while we don't know what normal is going to look like in the future, I think it's going to be more conducive to the arts. And I think an important part of the message that I've been taking to the state and hope you'll take locally is that the state can't recover if the arts don't recover. The arts recovery is important to your local community, especially to the related businesses of hospitality, restaurants, tourism, hotels. Those are the things that need the arts to recover, and the communities need the arts to recover. And so right now, as the cities and the states are getting some American Recovery Plan money, you should be looking locally for some of that money to be allocated to the arts, to help the arts recover, and advocate for that. Work together with your local arts council so that you can get those resources focused on helping the arts recover. And so that the arts recover, the state recovers.
We have a question about, and if you know of what's going on with any Illinois organizations as far as recovery, or what have you heard?
We allowed those Illinois organizations in the Metro East area to be part of this. And the same thing on the Kansas side, we allowed those that were closest to the Kansas City metropolitan district to be part of this, but we've only got a handful of both in this. So no, I don't have any specific knowledge about that, but I tell you that what I'm hearing from my colleagues across the country and other state arts councils is the same. You know, this has devastated the arts, and the arts that were the smaller groups were hurt more than the larger groups. The larger groups had layers to shed, but they were hurt significantly as well. And it's going to take time. We didn't come into this, it didn't start but just a year ago, and it's going to take a year or more to fully recover from this. So I think the groups need to be patient with themselves, but the key is rebuilding, communicating with your audiences, make sure that you're meeting their needs, learning what do they've learned about the pandemic that changes how they're going to consume the arts. And this is the big question for me. And I think the thing that we don't know the answer to yet, has this pandemic changed consumer behavior for the arts? Does it make us change how we want to engage it? Does it make us more anxious for it? Does it make us, did we get used to doing things online and bought more streaming services instead of going to the arts? This is what we need to find out, but we're not going to find out until things actually come back. And so if I were involved in an organization, I would be communicating, getting your groups together, your audiences together with you somehow, even virtually, or just communicating with them so that you rebuild those connections with them so that they know what you're doing to come back. And they're aware of the plans that you're making for the future. Who are the artists you're looking to bring in? What are the plays that you're reading for your possible thing? Make them feel part of this process so that when you're ready to reopen, they're ready to reopen with you.
And I do want to remind everyone to please put your questions in the chat while we have Michael Donovan with us, who is giving us such wonderful information this morning. Michael, what do you feel about if a venue said, because, you know, if you have a bigger, larger venue that is really up to speed with their safety protocol, but say the smaller venues, the little community theaters or the little houses that may not have the same kind of funding, or what do they need to do to increase their safety protocol?
Well, it's not a level playing field, that's for sure. But I think in a lot of ways, smaller groups can be more nimble. They don't have a lot of layers of authority, and they may have more, especially in a smaller community, you may have more access to resources. So what I would be looking for, especially if I was a live theater, is maybe you can look for an outdoor venue this summer and do something outdoors this summer, early fall. Larger venues that you wouldn't consider, you might want to consider just because it gives you more room for distancing, if that's one of your protocols. So I think that those are the things that they should be thinking about, being creative, you know, be in a non-traditional venue. If you're a smaller group, your technical needs aren't as high. And so it might be easier for you to perform in a place that people already are, and look for partners. Look for partners with your parks department, look for partners with other places where you can help provide the programming that the community needs, especially over the summer, with their support.
What do you hear about funding within, say, the Regional Arts Commission or the Arts and Education Council for theaters across the board? Do you think that there will be any available funds for live theater now that we're trying to reemerge?
Well, I can speak for our own situation and a little bit about RAC. RAC, as you all know, it was very dependent on the same hospitality funding that they depend on, which is the hotel motel tax in St. Louis and St. Louis County. So their revenues are way down, and they have reduced their capacity as well. So their situation is limited, and the groups that are being funded by them traditionally already know, I think, what they're going to be getting. A&E, I'm not familiar with what their situation is, and I know their funding was down too, because their funding is mostly from corporate and business sources, and they've been hit by the pandemic. We were initially hit last fiscal year. Our funding was down 25% because just as it hit April 1st, we were waiting for our last quarter transfer, and we didn't get that, never got that. This year, that 25% was withheld up front, but we have restored that. So we're currently paying out for the original grants, the governor's release withholding, and also NEA CARES money. And so in a lot of cases, we're finding the groups that had more than enough money for the programming that they could do because they couldn't do much in the way of programming. but we allowed them to share that money with their operating costs. That's true for this next coming fiscal year, starting July 1st, is that they'll be able to use money that they can't use for the programs in operating support if they're a group who primarily presents, produces, or serve the arts. We also fund groups that are not primarily arts organizations. So for this year and next year, I think things are good because we got significant amount of money from the NEA last year, just for the state, 468,000. We got almost twice as much for next year, 833,000. So that money is going to be distributed. Not sure how yet, because we just got those guidelines a couple of days ago, how those will be distributed, but that will be distributed next year. So there will be funds, there will be operating support. The question is, are there going to be your traditional funds? Are you going to get your audience ticket sales? Are you going to get your sponsors and corporate support? And so to protect those monies, I think the more ways you can find to offer revenue opportunities for people to support you, or for example, just yesterday, I saw the rep in St. Louis send out an email saying that they were about ready to come to release. I think they're doing a current, or just did a production in the Burgess Theater at Coca. And so they had been fundraising for the reopening, and they were asking people to donate $20.21 to their efforts. And I thought, well, that was clever. It's a level that a lot of people can afford, and even if they can before, they might give again. And so groups can think creative ways that they can engage people's support of them and tap into that audience performer affinity that we have as audiences, that we feel close to our theater groups. They perform for us, they share their stories, they do it in a very personal, deep, and interesting way. I think you have a chance to tell a story that makes your case. And for groups that are not theaters, you can as well. You know, galleries and all kinds of groups have the way to tell the story and create interesting opportunities for people. And I think more than ever, we're going to be looking for interesting opportunities, interesting experiences in our lives while the pandemic continues, and post-pandemic, we're going to be looking for that more than ever. And the arts are in the best position to offer that.
I agree with you. And I know a lot of people are a little skeptical about coming back. And I think there's still that question of, where will 2021 take us? And will we have to wait until 2022? But it sounds really positive what you're saying about what you're seeing across states and nationally. And we've heard that, Broadway is, planning on coming back in September. Where do you think we'll be, say, by the fall, Michael, in terms of art?
If the pandemic has taught us anything, is making predictions is a futile task. I think what you have to do is be prepared as soon as possible for when it is possible to reopen. And in the meantime, have those conversations, especially with people who are a little cautious about coming back, because the thing about coming back is you don't know when you're ready to come back. The day before you're ready to come back, you weren't ready. And so you would have said you weren't ready. And so what I would ask those people is, what would it take for you to feel comfortable coming back? What kind of experience would you want to come back to first? And build around those experiences, because those people have those needs too. Maybe you won't do everything like that, but do some things like that so you give them a chance to have an experience with your organization that is memorable and personal, just like a performance.
Well, it's interesting because we are still at a positivity rate of 6%, which is higher than the national average here in St. Louis. So a lot of people who think that maybe everything should be just opened up and we all take off our masks, and head out, it's maybe a little premature. What do you think?
It may be, but it's close. Remember when our expectation of opening was 5%, and we were at above 10% for so long. So we've been in this so long, everything feels like down, but we're much closer than we think we are. And I think that we're already in certain circumstances, specific circumstances, we're in places where we can be safe to participate in the arts. And that's what I would be looking for and offering now, are those things where people can feel good about participating in the arts.
Hey, Michael, this is Megan. I have kind of a comment that I'm hoping you and Sharon will back me up on, basically. I just wanted to kind of put out there that this is not the time to throw out your accessibility. This is not the time to say, oh, well, we have these safety protocols and we can only have this many people here, so we don't have a spot for an ASL interpreter or an audio describer or a live captioner. I would argue, this is the time you should be adding that accessibility for a multitude of reasons. One being, if you're already putting these new protocols in place and people over the last year have been getting used to, now I have to wear a mask, or now I have to stand this far apart, or now I have to do this. Now it seems like the perfect time to say, oh yeah, we've also added an ASL interpreter, an audio describer, an XYZ, because you're already making changes. You might as well make a positive change while you're at it. And I think that some organizations and some venues are falling into that trap of, oh, it's so hard right now. We're just going to do the bare minimum. We're going to do what we have to do to open. And accessibility is definitely getting lost in that. So that's kind of my plug over here.
I would double down on that, because I think it's those groups that are taking that minimalistic approach that are going to be at most risk of not coming back fully. To the extent that you have supported your audiences, all of your audiences, made it easier for your audiences to participate, is where you're going to have the best advantage in reopening. So I would double down on accessibility. I would double down on reaching out. I would double down on making connections with people and making sure that they feel like you want them there. And I think accessibility is an important part of that. And this is all about making the arts accessible to people.
I completely agree with both of you. It's not something that you should ever eliminate. It's something now, especially with everything that's happened, the focus needs to be on that, because the last thing you want to do is exclude anyone from coming back to the theater, especially at this time.
One of the things that I did see during the pandemic was a lot of groups just went radio silent. They stopped communicating. They said, well, we don't have anything to talk about. No, you have more things to talk about than ever. And you should really increase your communication. When things get down, you increase the connection, increase the communication, increase the support, not back off. That just expedites or you're slowing down and losing connection with groups. Because the truth is, other groups have done just the opposite. They've been out there reaching out. You'll lose your audience to those who are more open and more accessible and more supportive.
Do you think that from a I guess a standpoint of Missouri, that there is enough focus, Michael, on people with disabilities or making things accessible? Do you see that as something where the focus is or is not?
It clearly is not, and it's unfortunate. Missouri isn't different in that respect. I think that it's something that we could all do a better job of. Some are doing better than others, obviously. And I think this is something that we, as the State Arts Council, are taking a look at. Where can we help support this and encourage this, this effort in the organizations that we support?
What do you think would be, I guess, something like what we're doing today, where we're combining, MindsEye with the ACAC and the Missouri Arts Council on how to build a stronger relationship, and to also to remind people that needs to be a component to this as we come back, because really we've had an opportunity with the pandemic to really have some transformative, movement as to not only keeping people safe, but it being more inclusive.
Mm-hmm. To be honest, that's a conversation I would like to have with the disability community. I don't think I would speak on behalf of what they need. Mm-hmm. I'd rather them tell us what they need. And I'd rather work with the arts organizations and how we can provide that. So let's have that conversation rather than me answer that, at a time where we can focus on that. This is a year which we're doing strategic planning, and we are very receptive to that message.
If anyone else has more questions, put them in the Q&A for Michael while we're here to talk more about, ArtSafe and what we've endured in the past year, how that has changed us, just as an arts community. Do you see, Michael, other arts organizations besides, say, theater adopting the Missouri ArtSafe protocols, such as museums, galleries?
If you look on that list, you'll see a vast array of organizations, large and small, all artistic mediums, performing, non-performing, for-profit, nonprofit, that have been certified. I'm really proud of the extent of the groups that have chosen to do this. I had hoped that we would get more in the for-profit side. We've only got a handful, but I think they don't see, they're not our natural constituents, to be honest. We provide funding for nonprofits. So, but I think that we are all part of a larger ecosystem of the arts, for-profit and nonprofit, for-profit venues, nonprofit venues. And so to me, there's a small distinction between the two. It's just a tax status. More interested in the fact that the arts serve every community and every person in the community and benefit from that.
As we wrap this up today, what else would you like to make sure that you tell everyone today about what we're doing going forward as far as the Missouri ArtSafe program?
Well, to recap, it is more important than ever to have Missouri ArtSafe certification. Just because things are easing up means that people are going to be reopening and people are going out. And so that ArtSafe certification will be helpful. Second, vaccination is the key for all of us in terms of rounding the corner on this. So encouraging your staff and volunteers and audiences to vaccinate will be great. I think as they're starting to do micro vaccinations, I'd love to see it happening in museums and theaters and places where people can get vaccinated as part of a cultural event, perhaps an arts festival. It would be fun to have a vaccination place at. And just to plan to reopen. Reopening is the next key here. If you're not already open, and 68% were partly reopened and a handful were 15% were already opened. I think the goal is everybody's open and people have a variety of opportunities to go to the arts. Whether that happens this summer, this fall, next spring, that's up to you. You decide. Communicate with the people you need to communicate to make that decision. But be ready before you need it. Don't wait until it's time.
Well, and we saw when we did the poll that there were not as many that we thought would be registered with the Missouri ArtSafe. And that's an important thing to remind everyone, they should be registered. And to get, and like you said, to get ahead of the game. Don't wait till the last minute.
And if you have any questions that are not part of the FAQs on the website, email me or call me at the Arts Council. We're here in the office now, Monday through Friday, and we're here to talk to you, if not necessarily see you face to face yet.
I'm going to bring Megan back into this. She may have more questions or comments for you, Michael.
Thanks, Sharon. Thank you both so much. There's so much information in there. I did one thing that I noticed because MindsEye is in Belleville. The first thing I noticed when scrolling through those organizations is that there were some Metro East Illinois locations on there. So I was glad to see. I was glad to see that we weren't, bunched in with some group in Chicago somewhere or something. That's where we were supposed to be getting this information from. I'm sure they have one. I'm sure it's spectacular, but you're our people, we'll say.
I'll be honest, I have not seen another art specific certification in the country, and I've been looking. My colleagues in the other states aren't doing this. So this is something we're proud that we did and hope that it doesn't have to be done forever.
Let's hope that we can look back on this and say, remember that Missouri ArtSafe certification? Wow, that was great. And then we never have to think about it again. So if there aren't, I don't see any more questions. So if nobody has any questions, we are going to end this portion. We do have a raffle today. Angela is in charge of our raffle. She's actually also our audio describer today. So she's going to bring up her screen, but she's not going to say anything, or she is talking probably to the people who are listening to audio description. So here's Angela, and go ahead and tap to spin. And we are giving away a gift certificate, a pod to St. Louis Shakespeare Festival to see Andre de Shields and King Lear. So this is very exciting. And the wheel is spinning and it's multicolored. It has names of everyone who's still participating right now. It is, you've got to be kidding me right now. Sarah Pretchel, who happened to be the winner the last time we had this. Sarah, I can't even, this is crazy. Like, I promise you that this is not rigged. But you have won a pod to Shakespeare Festival. We just really want you to participate in a lot of theater. That's all. So great. So I'm going to share my screen just for a couple seconds. Oh, actually, Sarah, that's so sweet. Sarah just put in the chat. Hopefully Angela is still with me. Sarah just put in the chat that she would like to offer the prize to another winner.
Oh.
Thank you, Sarah. She won a gift certificate to the Muni last time. So we'll Angela will spin again. And if it lands on Sarah again, we know that we will know that it's rigged. So hopefully not. Oh my gosh. Erica Wolf, who is actually one of our audio description patrons. So Erica, I'll get with you and hopefully you can go on June 10th, which is when we will have audio description at St. Louis Shakespeare Festival. So just a quick plug for where we have audio description coming up, since I'm the one that's talking right now.
Oh yes, please tell us that. That's
we have a ton of events in June where we are offering audio description. Number one being, well, first Shakespeare Festival on June 10th. Thank you. But also we have a ton of dates with Opera Theater of St. Louis. So that is another organization that has moved outdoors this summer. And we are doing two productions of two shows of each production, two performances of each production. Those are all listed on our MindsEye website. We're really excited about that. This will be our first time to work with a live production with them. We did Pirates of Penzance for their Opera on the Go. But we're excited about that. And then we have Shakespeare Festival, and we also have At the Rep, which will actually be at Coca, at the New Burgess Theater at Coca. We have Mlima's Tale, and I may be mispronouncing it because I've only seen a picture of the word. I've not heard anyone say it out loud, but that's coming up at the end of the month too. And then of course we have the Muni, which will start at the end of July this summer. So keep an eye out on our website. I'm going to share my screen real quick for our thank yous. Hopefully you don't see all those boxes that are in the way. I'll move them just in case.
It sounds like it's a wonderful sign that if you are coming back with all of the things that you're doing, that theater is coming back.
Yeah, we're really excited. We have a really tight schedule. Oh, thank you. Ricky just told me that my pronunciation of Mlima's Tale was correct. So thank you. I'm glad that you're here, Ricky, to tell me that. Yes, we're really excited. And we have seen places specifically like Opera Theater of St. Louis that are really expanding their accessibility, and the Muni, who's going from instead of just Monday nights, Mondays and Saturday nights for audio description at the Muni. So we are seeing places that I think directly related to some of the virtual programming that happened during the pandemic and other things that happened. Metro Theater is another one too. We just did their performance of the Very Hungry Caterpillar show. And we did they're live and they're virtual. So there are places that are really expanding their offerings in audio description. And I hope that's the same in ASL. I don't know that for sure. And I do want to give a shout out to Joan. Joan Lipkin just sent a thank you for all of your work, Michael. So back to my screen. Thank you first to St. Louis Shakespeare Festival again for those tickets. We also want to thank our sponsors, Lighthouse for the Blind St. Louis, the Arts and Education Council, and we are a proud member of the United Way of Greater St. Louis safety net. So we're happy for that. We also, of course, want to thank Michael Donovan and Sharon Hunter. We want to send a special shout out to our ASL interpreters from LAMP, Hannah and Charlene, our CART interpreter from Here Inc., Jane. So in case you missed that at the very beginning, we actually have a live human person that's just doing our captions. So thanks, Jane, for those. And our audio describer today, Angela, who was also, of course, our wheel spinner. And thank you. Thanks to everyone. It's time to go, Sharon. Thanks to all of you. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Just a reminder, you will get an email from me in the next couple days with a recording of this presentation. I'll also send out a list of links specifically about Missouri ArtSafe. And I'll put some links for Sharon in there. I'll put their contact information in there. I will also have links to Here Inc., to LAMP interpreters, and to MindsEye for all of our service providers. And please take a minute to fill out the survey. It's really important, not just for the ACAC and for MindsEye, but also for our funders. Hint, hint, to know what we're up to.
And I want to thank you so much for having me, and for all of you, very important and wonderful work that you, MindsEye, and the Arts and Culture Accessibility Cooperative are doing. It is an honor to be on the committee, and it was an honor to be here today with the always wonderful Michael Donovan, who is a fountain of information. He is he's a treasure for us.
Thank you, Sharon. I appreciate that. And it's always great to work with you. And I know that I can count on you having questions ready and being prepared. So I appreciate it. And again, thank you to Michael Donovan. We are so lucky to have not just the Missouri Arts Council, but specifically Missouri ArtSafe certification. And I hope that all of the people who are on board are rushing right now to do the Jot Form to get in. And with that, if we don't have anything else, I am going to close it out. So thanks.